Okay, at Dave's request, this opening is going to be really short because we just want to get to the content we want to talk to. I'll just set the stage on what provoked us to come together today. There has been so much energy in Dave's field, in my field, around curiosities and CLPT, everything that points to contact and people that are having it in real time. So it was time for us to share some of the latest things. And Dave, without fail, has brought receipts again today. So I'm going to start with you, my friend, and you can kind of underscore the reason why we felt we needed to kind of come together and talk.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing conversation between my friend Lowell and I. Jeez Louise. Okie dokie. So there's no roundup. It's like, let's all gather around the fire because I'm telling you a tale. It's not going that way. What we have is some information that was given to me recently. And so I shared about 3/4 of it on Vivian Chauvet's show, and infinite star connections. Vivian's an extremely intuitive, very psychic Arcturan. She's not a walk-in. She's not a step-in. She's Arcturan, and there's 3 ways to get to know this woman. If you're lucky, she'll email you back. I've been fortunate to know her for several years now, and she's one of the few people that is around that you'll never ever hear her say something bad about somebody else in private circles when we're having a laugh and we're having dinner. I mean, I'll make fun of people in the UFO community. I do it all the time because it's a joke. There's so much misinformation out there. But Vivian doesn't partake in that. So being around her is very enigmatic, but you're obviously speaking to somebody who is not human. And being in her presence is very unusual. It's very exotic, and you have to watch what you think because she picks up on everything. So I was able to share some things with my dear friend Vivian on Easter Sunday. So infinite star connections, you should go on and watch the show. In fact, at the end of it, she recommended everybody watch it 2 or 3 times to pick up some of the gems. Today with Lowell, we're going to talk about a continuation of a process of communication with people that live in the sky. The star families, the star people, the holy people who live in the sky. We're going to talk about our friends who visit me, and I'm going to share their information and their wisdom with you through Lowell's channel. One of the things that Lowell wanted to do, and I reflected, and one of the things that I wanted to do that he reflected right back was, in a short way, to define our roles as ambassadors, because I am an ambassador for the Taurus group, for the Galactic Council of Scientists and the Galactic Federation of Planets, which is in that area. Remember, the Taurus is behind Orion, and they're very ancient species. There is no name except Tauran, because they're probably closest to the original Taurans that developed in that area under Aldebaran, the giant yellow star. And they're very ancient. So I expressed some of the visitation from Kim Jim with Vivian and her tribe, but I didn't share something else. And we're going to share that with Lowell because we spoke about having a visitor. So Lowell and I want to define our roles a little bit as ambassadors and what we do. If he says we, it's generally the royal we. I mean, I support Lowell 100% because he knows what he's talking about. He's got physical evidence. We've been in Shasta. I've seen stuff. He's got films and film footage and photographs of all kinds of beings up on the mountain. And it's a delight to talk to him about that. But I don't speak for Lowell. Likewise, he doesn't speak for me. but he supports me because he knows that, damn, yeah. So we're gonna point some things out with some photographs. So Lowell, do you want to start about how you define your role as an ambassador of Inner Earth, and and how the experience has just sort of turns you into what you are without, you don't call yourself an ambassador, and yet that's the only term I can think of, because I don't like the word expert, I don't like the word professional, I don't like the word, scientific analysis, whatever. It's an individual thing, but along the experience of finding things out, I come across everything. And, you're not the only person to talk about Inner Earth, but you're the only one that sounds like you got it right. And the vibrations about the feeling and the things that you discuss, you've got it right. Because I go to these other channels, and at the end of the thing, they want to talk about selling T-shirts. And so it's, so I call you an ambassador for Talos, but do you identify with any of that, or what's your feelings about the knowledge that you possess and the photographic evidence that you possess? What would you call yourself if you're describing yourself?
Through these discussions we've been having over time, and I've stayed dark for a second because I have a different idea about how we should proceed. But to answer your question quickly, when you came into my field, the time we began to spend together in Shasta, and I remember clearly the year that we met when we spoke at the conference was also the year that Viviane was brought into my field. And if you recall, you hosted a dinner party where just a small group of us all got an opportunity to get to know one another. That was awesome. But I would rather have you continue your discussion and bring these pictures into the presentation that you had just referred to, and let's talk about that, and then we can continue on talking about my role as ambassador, because we've already started on yours. So let's start here. What do you say?
Absolutely. Well, this is the best way to see a visitor. If we go back a couple of years, I had an experience where they taught me that I was an ambassador of training for them. This is one of two beings that came into my home, and this is when I was watching. Key Largo, and I never told people what my favorite movie was. So Key Largo had come on the TCM cable channel, and of course anything with Edward G. Robinson, Humphrey Bogart, and these amazing actors, I'm going to watch it. So it was just starting, and my favorite scene is when she sings the song Moan in Love, doesn't get her drink because Edward G. Robinson said she was terrible. And Bogey gets up, grabs her drink, and hands it to her. And then Edward G. runs up to Bogey and slaps him really hard across the face. Many years later, Humphrey Bogart said that was a real slap, and Edward G. had told him he was going to go really easy on him, but he hit him hard. And when he asked him about it later, he said that was the only way to show how realistic and how real this is. And it's one of my favorite films because of all those metaphors. Life slaps you in the face. Sometimes it's really hard, but it's real. And at least when you're having these things go on in your life, man, it's nice to be awake and to surmount all the obstacles the best we can. And so we just want to bring positivity and light into everything that we discuss. And it doesn't mean I'm selling coffee cups. It doesn't mean I'm selling T-shirts, because that's all bullshit. All right, so this is one of the visitors. And when they came in the house, they appeared. They went through my front door physically. He was 4 foot tall, and his skin looked like a 20 different shades of charcoal gray and light gray oil slick, and it was constantly moving like in waves. And then she was smaller, and she had long black hair, and she took her goggles off, her black goggles, and you can see her eye. And I actually adjusted this because the photo was taken in the pitch black of my study in my home. And they always request that you turn the lights off until they adjust their eyesight. and you know your way around the house. So I'm looking at this is how I knew that I was frozen. Listen very carefully. I'm looking at my phone. Key Largo just comes on. And I went, oh, it's 49 or 48 or 49 minutes until my favorite scene. And when I looked up at the television, the scene was playing. But a whole movie had gone through up to 48 minutes. So I'm looking at my phone going, oh, it's going to be 47 minutes. And I looked at the TV and the scene was on. They came in, put everything into super slow motion, went into my study. So I knew immediately that I had been frozen. And this is the first and only time this has been done to me. And when because I've heard of people that have had contact that have been frozen and shut down and they lost time, and people that lose time. So I lost time, but it was for them to make the adjustment. You see, when they flash information to you from a ship, they tell you you're going to get visited. We're going to do this. We'd like you to cooperate. We'd like to look at this. And if you want to meet us, this is part of the process. You get all those flashes of all that packaged information right into your occipital lobe, right into your third eye, right into your seventh chakra area. All that information goes right to you and hits you cerebrally, spiritually, and electrochemically. So you just get, a huge flash of photons from a ship. They tell you everything. Well, on the day that they came in and froze me, the rest of the message had been delivered. And it takes a while for these things to stack up and read fully. They can't give you all the information about when they're going to visit, what they're going to do, what the next project is on your mission. And so they were in my study looking at stuff. It was some days afterwards, after they communicated to me, that they told me, thank you very much. And it was just the sentence, thank you very much, because I heard it about 2 weeks later, going to bed, it was pitch black. I heard, thank you very much. And that piece of sound had the following information in it. You're going to be used as an ambassador to train people that have never been to Earth. We're increasing the amount of visitors from different systems, different worlds, that are going to be visiting the Earth to help us with the ascension process. You're going to be responsible for explaining to them what the objects in your house are. You're going to be responsible for letting them come close to you to understand what kind of enzymes, enzymatic hormones, and different types of pheromones that you give up. You're going to allow them to come and talk to you. You're going to be given an opportunity to respond. This is going to happen in slow motion so that you can talk to them. So you get hundreds of pieces of information in one sound wave. You get thousands of pieces of information in one flash of light. And they all stack up, and there's a trigger, and then they all go like an accordion, and then you can read all the instructions. Your brain does that electrochemically within seconds. So I get up off the sofa, I can hear them saying, you can come into your study now. So this was really a great way to see her, and she leaned in forward to my camera and said, you can initiate your device. And so this is my Samsung S20 with the flash obviously turned off because it would have blinded her. And you can see how very large her eye is and how fine and thin her cheekbone is. And that's not a nostril. That is a very unusual shadow of a deep depression under her nose. And I didn't see a mouth. And she had a very bulbous head and very bulbous cheekbones and a very high cheek, but her eye was enormous. That's the way the picture came out. I have other pictures, and I put them up on at different times, maybe on Lowell's, maybe on Becca B's from Soul Based Life. So your reverse role as an ambassador is now to train entities that are going to be joining other human beings. And so it's true. What they do is they say, what's this? And you say, that's a lamp. What's this? It's called a bed. It's where we sleep and where we procreate. What's this? This is a kitchen. We prepare food. There's both dangerous and non-dangerous items here that humans consume. And so it's like they walk through the house with you, and they're walking around picking stuff up off the shelves. because they love little statues, they love artwork, they love seashells and rocks and crystals. And my house is full of pachinas and crystals and stone bowls and all sorts of stuff. And so they love that stuff because they have nothing like it. So when they come and visit you and they're reading you, they'll come into your room and in the dark, and they'll stand next to you and observe you while you're sleeping, kind of like a mother does with their baby. So there's nothing wrong with that, because before they make the decision to come and be in physicality with you, they have to make sure that you're 100% safe to be around. After you're safe, you're just like a dolphin that gets tagged by an ocean studies biology group from a university. They tag you, and it's a chemical tag. It's RNA. So they touch you, and they either hold your hand or they hold your feet. They touch your toes, and they hold onto your feet, or they put their hand on the side of your head. And I've had all three of those things done to me at different times from visitors. There's an RNA exchange. They give me some of theirs, the microscopic spherules of oil from their skin, moisture that comes from their skin, and blood that comes through their skin. Because, you know, humans don't talk about this, but on a subatomic level, blood actually comes through your skin. You know, you're just a big, huge bag of liquids. And so when you touch someone from another world, there's an exchange. There's also an electrochemical exchange, and you feel the electricity from their heart, and they feel the electricity from yours. All right, so after that exchange has occurred, you're either put to sleep, or they tell you that they love you and that everything will be fine and that they're here to help. And don't worry, because everything will be okay. And this is what we receive. And it doesn't happen overnight. And this is one of the things we talk about with Vivian, is you've got to remember, you must really, really want this. You must want this experience almost more than anything. And if they don't show up, and you've been praying and speaking to them and seeing them in the sky, if they decide not to come down after 3 years of praying to them every night, if for some reason they don't come down, it's because it's for your benefit. And then they allow you to see their ships. They show up when you call them, right, to give you little affirmations that they love us and that everything will be fine. For those of us that get visited and receive visits regularly, it's a little bit more advanced. And the reason we get visited and the reason they talk to us and work with us directly is because that we work for them. They gave me the lesson of thoughts or things so that I could translate that to straight across from mainstream academia to mainstream civil service workers. So when I work with government people or military people or scientists who work for government or scientists who work for mega corporations like SpaceX, I'm able to transcend whatever barrier they're on or from, because I come straight from the heart. I look at them and I don't use metaphors, and I don't speak in a way that isn't clear. When you think about what you're going to say to somebody, you start attenuating the Broca's area. You start attenuating your occipital lobe. You bring in 1,000 different brain functions when you want to be clear speaking. And one of the things that they do for you is they enable you to speak as quickly as you think. And they eliminate all the things that you know that you don't ever want to say again, like the H word or the F word or any of that stuff. You know, it's different. They come down to us because they can use us. And I've said this before. I said, you know, we do get used by them. And it's a willing experience. We allow ourselves to be used by them because there is so much love and compassion. And there is so much purity of truth and strength about the future, hope for all the animals on the planet. There's so many wonderful things that you would be stupid not to agree, because none of them ever, they're like Vivian, none of them ever make jokes, right? They're not humorless, all right? They have intellectual humor that when you finally get it, you laugh your ass off for hours. But they take everything seriously. They never talk about anger. They never talk about war. They never talk about control. They never talk about, you know, a permanent agreement, right? Anytime you want to to say goodbye to them. They'll never bother you again, and they'll say thank you, right? I have so much fun being communicated with by them that, you know, listen, guys like me are not like Mr. Popular, okay? I don't drink, so I don't go out to bars. I rarely go out to restaurants with friends. I have a circle of like 15 really close friends and a circle of 5 of those who I will absolutely tell everything to. There's a lot of stuff that I can't discuss because human beings are weak. People will accidentally reveal some piece of information that I shouldn't have shared, and then all of a sudden it'll get weaponized by IBM. So we have to be really careful about the things that they share with us, and it takes many years. Remember, guys, it's been going on since 2017, and the more I work with them, the more is expected of me. The more I work with them, I have to show them that I have an even stronger sense of morals. I have an even stronger, more brilliant value system. And I have to show them that I understand the power of forgiveness, of kindness, of hope, and of love. These 4 sacred words are my life energy. And I don't have to worry about anything anymore because they showed me a shield, a sword, and a suit of armor made from hope, made from love, made from kindness, and made from forgiveness. And wherever I go as an ambassador for Taurus, I am not to be fucked with. There are very few people who can sit down on the stage and talk to me in front of 4,000 people or 500 astrophysicists. They don't like me because I won't take their bullshit, and I will talk about real science based on their technology, because not only have they taken me away and shown it to me, but I express it for humankind in a way to help the simple monkeys wake up and understand their own dimensionality. I love everybody, but I don't love what they do, and I don't love what they think. But that's on them. That's their path. And if that's the truth you choose to take, that's on you. One of the most important things Kim Jim ever told me was, it is not your job, David, to take responsibility for other people's thoughts and feelings. So Lowell, why don't you show the next picture? All right. That is such an amazing, beautiful ship. And there's a little one right next to it. They're both flying. They're both flying so fast. Probably 1,000 miles an hour or just under. And of course, totally silent. There's no sound. And why don't you go to the next one? Bada boom, bada bing. All right. So as an ambassador, my role is to tell everybody the truth, because here's the really interesting, beautiful part about love. When somebody gives you 100% of their trust because they love you so much, if you decide to take that love and to twist it or manipulate it into anything that it isn't, then you're the loser. Pure love and support, forgiveness, kindness, right, is so powerful that when you're shown the truth, you just have to say it. So there's no untruth for me. This is my path. This is my experience that I choose to share with you. You see, they know that I don't have social media, and I don't care what anybody says about me. But what's really interesting about that is that they protect me. This community protects me, and I protect you. You see, and I oftentimes will refer to Lowell's community as people who don't really need help. They're just here because they want to find out what we're tuning into. I know that you guys are all in contact, and it's such a blessing. And the love that you guys give off. Wow. Hey, everybody. We love you so much. And Kim Jim came to me about 6 days ago. He said, tell everybody we hear them. And for those of you that are not being vociferous enough, and you're not out there every night talking to us, he said, please tell them to start doing that, because the more they talk to us, the more we understand about them. You see? So let's come back just a little. So when the ships come down to us, there's a soul contract, right? Because you immediately fall in love. It's not brainwashing. It's like my new set of friends who don't judge me, right? Then my new set of friends who accept what I say and the way I feel about it, right? Without judgment. And so it's like they're so easy to get along with. They're more easy to get along with than human beings. This is why, like, I guess when you have contact with people from other worlds and the holy people who live in the sky, I guess you're just preordained to lose all your contact with everybody else on the planet. I mean, it's not like I'm going to go to dinner and start talking about their version of deep space navigation. Everyone's just going to look at me like I'm a big idiot. So what's the point? So, but talking to Lowell is what I'm doing. So let me finish my conversation with Lowell. So Lowell, this shift is part of a progression and a procession. One of the things I learned in the last couple of days, the reason I called you was I was talking a bit about sometimes ships show up. I don't know who they are. Well, so last night, it sort of gelled that all of the ships that I see are part of a coordinated effort. Some of the species who I'm familiar with cannot come down to see me, but send their love. Other ships, like this one, are showing up to flash a message. So this is a ship that I've never seen before, but it was absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And is there one more picture of it? There you go. You want to blow that one up? And if you can, great. Yeah, okay. So this is the flash. So if you look at the deeper colors of the other one where it's more calm and the spheres are more, you're able to see them better, this is a flash. Now, people have asked on the chat stream before in the comment section, you know, can the messaging system that they use work by looking at them on a movie or look at them on a photograph? And unfortunately, no. Light waves comprised of photons of light carry a specific frequency according to the nature of that photon energy release. So it could be a photon from a light source that's created from radiation. It could be a photon from a light source that's created from argon. It could be a photon of light that's from a source that's created from tungsten on a light bulb. Or, you know, LED doesn't really put off proper photons. I would avoid LED if I was you. Anyways, so it doesn't come through on films. It doesn't come through on photographs. These were taken when I took a sabbatical from everybody. In October of last year, I went out to the desert and I camped out and did car camping for a couple nights, and I prayed to the people in the sky. There was nobody with me. I brought my dog, and then for the last 2 days, I rented a really beautiful, beautiful house with a saltwater pool. It was 116 during the day, and just at night it was amazing. This was my last night with them, speaking to them, and this is them flying over the house. And it was amazing because it's a coordinated effort. I don't know who they are. I didn't see the ship before, but it was one of the ships that were saying farewell. And so a while back, I had mentioned that I might be receiving some visitors in March. And funny enough, I was asked by the board of the people where I live in a complex at the beach. And I was asked by the board to get evidence of one of the people at the gardening service if they were using, 20-year-old gas blowers or if they were using electric ones. And so he was using an old gas blower. So I turned on the video on my camera to went out and get, 5 seconds of evidence of him doing that. And when I played the movie back, there's a face right next to my thumb. as I'm opening the sliding glass door on my balcony. It's pretty wild. Bada boom. Right, so I didn't see this, but I've done a little research, and I've been listening to some other people that I trust. And yes, indeed, our visitors show themselves only to us peripherally. So we see them from the very edge of our lens over our iris. Our corneal lens will pick up light waves that the front of the lens hasn't, because it's at a different refractive and reflective and absorption index because of the base of your cornea's shape. So, there's a lot of stuff with light transmissions and specific lenses and lasers. So I know what I'm talking about. So the information of light, because we don't see light photons, folks. We don't see light. We see its reaction to the area it's passing through. We see the reflection of photons, but we don't see photons of light. And that shows us the objects around us. Well, I was looking straight at the handle, and that's Big Dave's big guy thumb. And my thumb is pretty big according to the size of that little face. And if you look, there's no eyebrows. And it almost looks like there's some hair, but it looks like a very bulbous forehead, a very tiny, pointy little funny nose, and almost no chin. But you can just make out the top of the upper and lower lip. And so, holy smokes. So they were visiting, and I didn't know they were there. And we did get a visitor, and thank God, because I was hoping to get some photographs. And, they said they'll let you take some pictures. So I told everybody, oh, there's going to be some pictures, thinking I'm going to the circus and take a picture of an elephant. Well, so this is their sense of humor, right? So I'm, very careful about what I promise to people. So there it is. And it's their sense of humor. They didn't let me take pictures. They didn't make their presence known to me. They've been in my house for the entire month of March, all right? Because my animals were all acting strange. And it was all good. I didn't feel anything from them, but I know that they were with me for all of March. And then the one shot I got was like 2 frames of a video of some gardener using a gas blower. And this is within the absolute first second of turning the video camera on to catch this guy using a gas blower. Yeah. So like Lowell's had possession of this picture for a good 2 months. And I just wanted to say, or a good month. And I just want to say, Lowell, thank you for not sharing.
They come along when they're supposed to come along, so the timing is always perfect.
Yeah. And I shared it with Vivian, and she said it was something. She said it was more than likely a spirit, and I don't have poltergeists, and nobody in my house has passed ever. And in fact, the units around me, no one's passed. And so we don't really have leftover spirits. So, and there are, very few traveling entities that are negative anymore. Most of them have been removed from the earth. This is one of them, or a reflection of one of them. Once again, they're small. See how tiny that face is? And it's like, okay, this is getting weird. So they're tiny, and I've never seen one with such a unique, uniform flesh tone. Vivian said it looked a little bit like a doll, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, Vivian. I'm Dave, the ambassador. This is my doll. No, sorry, guys. I don't have dolls. I don't have dolls. So it's not alarming or spooky because I'm kind of used to them coming in. And honestly, if this little fellow popped into 100% 3D physicality right while I was opening the door, I would have jumped so hard my head would have got stuck in the ceiling. So I think he's on his way out, to tell you the truth. I think that's through the door. And it's leaving. So I feel like it's he. So anyways, there it is. It's the best I could do. And damn, that's actually a really good picture. So yeah, that's okay. And So what happened? This is I don't know, a week ago, because like we only just discovered the photo not long ago. And so a week ago, Vivian called me up and said, "Hey, can you be on my show?" And I said, "Oh, are you kidding? You know, there's just been so much that's happened. I can't wait to tell your community and tell you what's going on." She already knows what's going on. You know, if it wasn't for Vivian Chauvet and Mary Rodwell, I probably would have gone bananas when I was returned from my 4-day trip. I was gone for 4 days, but it was only 4 hours. Yeah, if it wasn't for those two women, I would have gone bonkers. And they brought me right back to, okay, you did good. You're a human. Take a deep breath. This is what's going to happen to you. And they were right. They were right. Both Mary Rodwell and Vivian Chauvet, my two best, dearest girlfriends in the community. So it's like, oh man, I'm so glad for those two. So when things like this happen, there's a message, okay? And so I went on Vivian's show, and I was overwhelmed by the urge to say a prayer to end suffering across the world. We did a 5-second moment of silence to end all suffering of animals, people, and the planet. And we brought that healing in, and then we talked about our roles. And so I'm happy to call myself ambassador, you know, because I worked as a trade ambassador for the British government back in 2007. I was buying alcohol from the Ukraine and trying to find a source of pure sterile alcohol for the National Health Service, the NHS. And that was a very serious position. You know, I'm a man of lots of talents. I've done all kinds of stuff professionally. So when the little people show up in my house and they tell me that everything's going to be fine and the world is full of love, and that your role right now as ambassador is to share the calm and the beauty of the things that we already know. They've asked me to remind people to rely less on your cell phones, only use them for calling your friends, and stop asking outside of yourself. Everybody that's come to visit me in March, everybody, they said the same thing. If you have all the answers within you already, and you have but to cast a gaze with your third eye and shine a light from your third eye. Cast a gaze on your Akashic record, which exists deep within your chromosomes. And all one need do is to visualize your DNA helix, your chromosomal ladder in your mind, and then go from each section to the section. And you'll be revealed information by spending the time to concentrate on seeing your Akashic record, and it will reveal itself to you through your DNA. It was written into you when they first came down to assist us many millions of years ago. And this is the big evolutionary boost that we received. So remember, they're here to help free us. They're here to help us win the battle against stupidity, against humans that don't know any better. And Kim Jim wanted me to remind everybody that we don't want you to get angry at other people. We want you to stop reacting. The way to affront and to heal and to solve all of the problems politically is to tell the truth and to use the words hope, compassion, love, and forgiveness. And he said very carefully that if you're listening to people on the internet that are not frequenting those words, then that means that those things do not exist within their system. The highest aspect of your job as an ambassador is to remind people of the extreme power of their minds, and that when they think something, they have to be very, very careful, because these actually happen. You must only think about hope, kindness, forgiveness, and love, because they will protect you, they will open a path of success for you, and they will surround you with hope, kindness, love, and forgiveness. And this is how we identify ourselves as a species. And once we believe in this 100% and utilize daily in our very ablutions for gratitude, in our very ablutions in the night we go to sleep, use these thoughts. Don't think about food, sex, and money. Think about hope, forgiveness, kindness, and love. and it will change the path immediately. Immediately. So isn't that worth the trying? And that was the message. And so that's going to be my message to everybody for a while, is that everything will be okay. And that we must remind ourselves who we are and our function as a species to share hope, love, compassion, and forgiveness. All right? Well, once you take over for a few
minutes. I do have some observations. I was making some notes as you were sharing again. And so what I always take away from these exchanges or, what am I supposed to get out of Dave's experiences? Well, here's what I can glean out of this, and I hope that helps others. Dave had those experiences because he vibrates at the proper level. That stuff's around him. And when he vibrates at the air, that same stuff, he experiences it and can come back and share it and report on it with the rest of us. Now, I want to throw a little more shade over Dave's particular circumstances, because I've heard his story enough now. I kind of put the timeline together, and it just hammered home the idea of our roles of ambassadors all the more. So if you recall, Dave's first experience with Kim, Jim, Weimer, his subset of friends, was in early 2017. Since then, that activity that you're witnessing, those pictures were taken in Hermosa Beach, California. Recently, other entities who Dave was not familiar with before that. It wasn't Weimer. It wasn't Kim Jim coming to visit those days. No, these were other beings that, in my mind, Dave has created a level of trust with those other beyond Earth sentients. And so he is a safe zone for these other beings to come in and do what I see them as advanced teams. They're here doing their due diligence. So when Dave described those conditions by which they kind of set him in freeze frame, well, they kind of looked around a little bit, made it safe for themselves. And then when they were finished, helped himself to a couple artifacts. I love that story. And they just kind of took some things in the past. One day you can elaborate on those things, the things that are missing and the things that were left behind. I love that. But the point of all this is that once your vibration level meets this level, this is not a one and done. This is a status that you've acquired moving forward. And so when Dave travels around, he gave that illustration of when he was car camping and had another experience. Guess what? They know your frequency. It is unique. And when it vibrates at the levels that they can find you wherever you are. They can find you when you're out in the desert. They can find you when you're a block away from the house over on the beach. They can find you wherever you are. And that was a revelation for me. I, for the longest time, thought I was having these experiences because that energy, that entity was at that location I visited. Nah. You drew it because they knew they could find you, and that's just happened to be where you were. So it all makes sense to me now when we think of our light work and where we've anchored light along the way. Well, we kind of dropped it along the way, didn't we? Never in the same place, and had these same experiences. And part of the work that we were doing was, leaving a place for light to be anchored a little more firmly here in this spot. And then we moved on to the next place. It's not until you start to do some of that and you have a frame of reference to look back at those instances to realize what was going on. So I want to thank Dave when he shares these things. And again, I love that he started out by saying that I like to talk about what's happened with Dave so other people can understand it, but I am in no position to tell Dave's story. There's been an instance recently where other people that had not really known about Dave before would definitely have a high level of finding out what he's about now, would love him to come and tell his story. But I can tell you that when I heard Dave's story in the way that I think it needs to be taken in, it happened over a 4-day period for me with 2 full days, 8 to 10 hour days of looking at the illustrations he'd done when he returned. And there were many, all of the light language and stuff that he had documented when he got back. There's no way for somebody to tell that story again, which is why a few years ago, Dave agreed to do a 4-part series where he put all that stuff, archived it, including the images, so that he doesn't have to tell it again, but the story's out there to be heard. Dave likes to, and I don't want to speak for him, but I know he likes to say he's not a healer, he's an interpreter. And he absolutely is. Had Dave not really crossed my path,
Translator.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That my adaptation with Beyond Sentience came along when Dave did. I didn't know about what the blinking lights in the sky were, but I definitely saw them. When I could put it into perspective and then practice, that's when the whole ambassador thing really came to focus, because I could see Dave's role and I knew what relationship I had with Inner Earth. Man, imagine now being in the middle of all that and knowing that I'm an ambassador to this and this, and the people that I've been drawing and that seem to find their way to the tribe, they all do too. All had extraordinary experiences. None of them were the same. And I have a greater appreciation for how that happens now, because we're all on unique journeys. But holy cow, these stories are extraordinary, and it demonstrates the gifts we have. Well, you know, our DNA is being cracked wide open right now to prepare us for Earth's new level of consciousness, because it's going to change any day. Just get ready. So we're not here to beat you over the head with conditions we think you need to satisfy. We're telling you what results we're having based on living in high vibrations and getting used to where the earth is going. That's our only framework, is to share it from that perspective. I got mine, go get yours.
Yeah, I totally get that. And, I was, while you were explaining that and expressing that, I actually started to drift away because you reminded me of something important. In the communication process, when you have your own particular experience, when you have had experience after experience after experience, and you're no longer calling people going, oh my God, I had this most amazing experience. And it says, in the past, people go, oh, you're cavalier about the whole thing, or you're a little too comfortable in saying things plaintively. And it's like, well, yeah, so you're not my friend. I only can handle like 10 people. My friends come from other planets, and they're so amazing and loving. But when they teach you how to communicate, they teach you how to just relax. I mean, I'm not interested in getting excited about any of this. This is my life. This doesn't not, I'm not jumping up and down about this shit, and I'm not trying to make money off of it. But because I have a contract of agreement, then I just say it like it is. And then that's it. I mean, what we want, and that's Taurus, the Galactic Council of Scientists. They're collectors and scientists. They don't build bombs and rape children. They're fucking amazing people that will take us another million years to come close to. All right. And that's only if we watch our behavior and start being kind, start being conscientious about what we do to the planet, start being more compassionate, start being more forgiving, and to start being a lot more loving. Right. Everybody needs to start dropping all their social agendas and social issues, their personality traits, ego problems, their relationship problems. Get over yourself. There is a much bigger picture going on in rubber shoes off and put your feet in the soil and do some deep breathing and stretch your arms up to the sky and look at the stars and calm your mind. Kim Jim was very vociferous about getting people to only use this cell phone. Where is it? There it is. Only use that for calling your friends. Then turn it off. Because these block signals from Gaia, who's trying desperately to speak to you. They block signals from your star family who are trying to communicate with you. And the reason you're getting cancer, and the reason you're getting gallstones, and the reason you're getting kidney stones is you've disconnected from Mother Earth. And if you want to heal yourself, take your shoes off, start drinking more water, take some deep breaths, and look at the sky and be grateful for life, because every day can be filled with love and kindness. But you must believe that. The reason they came down to me is because I wanted to see them more than anything in the world. More than anything, I wanted to see them and for them to come down and to be with me physically. I wanted that so bad that I would cry when they didn't show up. But I knew they were there, and I never gave up. And every night, for 2 hours a night, I looked at Orion and I thought to them, please come down. I'm not afraid. Please come down. My name is David. Please come find me. And I did that every night. No social obligation, no work, no family obligation, no girlfriend obligation. I shut them all down. And from 7:30 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. every night for 7 months straight, I sent my mind and all my powerful thoughts and my love and my hope for humanity and hope for the planet. I sent it out past Orion until it struck somebody in Taurus, and they got my message. And they came down and they started speaking to me. And then after they were speaking to me for a while, we became friends. And then they came down and they got me. And that's how it works. And you have to want this more than anything. I am so happy that I followed through on my commitment to myself. Because when your heart tells you something exists, when your heart tells you where to look for that special gemstone out in the middle of the desert, when your heart tells you where to look for that beautiful sea creature so that you can be in communication with it when you're snorkeling, when your heart tells you those things over and over and over again, well, if you don't take your shoes off, and if you don't do some deep breathing and reach out to the sky, reach out to the Creator, and allow your feelings to be released from you, because Gaia's energy will pull all the bad things out of you, and it'll stream out of you in a way. And it goes into the heavens where it's dispersed and becomes harmless. Now, you wear those rubber-soled shoes, you wear that baseball cap, you use your cell phone every day and you're texting and you're on YouTube and you're doom scrolling. Think about it. You're gone. You're gone. You're out of communication. So Kim Jim wanted me to tell everybody, your phone is a phone. Since when did you need it to use GPS to go for a fucking hike? Shut it down. It's a phone. Use it for calling your friends and then turn it off. Okay? That's from Dave Wallace, human being, not Dave Wallace.
It comes with love.
Yes. That's how I got the information. So, and God bless all of us. It's all about hope, compassion, love, and forgiveness. And I feel that way about you every day, Lowell. I feel that way about your community. I love all you guys so much. It's so cool that we can talk and invite you in and experience our life, because my life is really bitching, and I allow it because I accept all love. I accept all hope and compassion and forgiveness. Right?
Right.
There's no guidebook for that. It's all spiritual common sense. Spiritual common sense. And it's really easy for everybody, because all you have to do is think about it and start utilizing it. And oh my goodness, do you know how everybody responds when you become a source of hope, compassion, kindness, and forgiveness? Do you know how people respond to you? Do you know how little babies respond to you? How children and animals respond to you? All of a sudden, you become super attractive. You become super attractive, and everybody wants to be with you. And you know why? Because you're telling them the truth. And this is what's missing from our civilization right now, is the truth of hope for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be beautiful. There won't be any wars. All this passion, because we feel bad for people. They're not bad people. They're just confused. And you don't, if you try and change them, that's against universal law. You're manipulating them. They're on their own path.
Right.
So have compassion. And so when you send them compassion, the vibrational energy wave of the frequency of compassion will actually heal them. It will help clean the toxins from their brain, and they'll start thinking about it. So it's not our role. So when Kim Jim told me in 2017, when he held my hand and I was crying like a baby, he told me all about thoughts of things, and how when we try and change somebody's path on purpose, that we're doing nothing more than manipulating them to our own self-interest.
That's
and
not
it's
very
such a
sovereign.
shocking, horrible. No, it's a very shocking and horrible thing to do, and yet human beings do it to each other all the time.
Yeah.
And so if you constantly concentrate on hope, love, compassion, and forgiveness, those traits will vanish because they don't exist within that higher vibrational realm of your thought process. And then you become the metaphysical being you're supposed to be. And then when you do and you wake up, you will know when you wake up, because there are no more questions and everything's okay. No more questions, because
Right.
you have all the answers inside of you, right?
Right.
It's
Let's
our
wrap.
topic, right?
You described high vibration conditions here at the end. All of the things you were talking about point to the same thing. And so if somebody wants to know, how do I get there? Figure out how to vibrate higher. Dave has always given us illustrations on how to make yourself feel better, think better. And his advice about thoughts become things is quantum mechanics. Listen, that's exactly how things get manifested. So if you pay attention to that advice, follow his instructions, you'll be able to raise your vibration also. And all of that stuff that he just said would be attracted is what you draw to yourself, because what you put out is what comes back in abundance. So choose wisely, right? Okay, buddy.
Right. Well, listen, it's been a beautiful chance to catch up with you, and you're such a gentle soul when you need to be, because I know you're a very strong guy, and you've done a great job communicating to people. And it was a lot of meditation before it was agreed to allow the photograph of the visitor or the spirit that was departing my house while I was opening the door. It was important for us to have that to meditate on for a while, to decide whether or not we were
Yeah.
going to expose that.
Thank you for
Because
sharing it eventually. But I always appreciate when I get to see that stuff in advance. But I respect what can be shared and what isn't supposed to be shared.
yes, there is that aspect, and colorful expletives aside, there is that aspect, and we want to be very careful to not expose energy sources and energy forms that can be weaponized, because you said it earlier, and it makes sense now to me, is that most people are not ready, and you hand them this, and they immediately go, hey, I can convert this to material wealth and kill people with it.
Yeah.
It's like super weapons of the future are worth a lot of
Yeah.
money, and governments are buying in the trillions for them. And so it's, We have to protect Mama Earth from the big strip mining.
That's
I
right.
want everybody to think about you. I want everyone to think about hope, compassion, kindness, and forgiveness. They're truly our highest aspects as a deity species allowed to live in this Garden of Eden. This is a gift. Remember who you are and think of these 4 simple, holy words every day. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks again, buddy, for your time. See you later.